Today, I'm going to talk to you about the process in a step by step fashion on how to file an estate tax return. So, first of all, an estate tax return is owed in Minnesota, or you have to file one, if someone passes away with more than $3 million. And when we have to file, when we're calculating the 3 million, someone might have debt. And so the net of the assets plus the debt is less than 3 million. So some people would say, do you have to file in that case? And the answer is yes, you still do. If the assets exceed 3 million, you got to file. And that estate tax return is due 9 months after someone dies. So in the estate planning world, you can remember this as a joke. It takes 9 months to be born. It takes 9 months to die with estate taxes. So due 9 months after death, you can get an automatic extension of 6 months. So you can file up to 15 months after someone dies. So first step in the process for estate tax returns is information gathering. There is a lot of information that has to be gathered for estate tax returns. We have to get assets valued as of the day the decedent passed away. So someone passes away in February, sometimes I'll meet with them in March and they'll give me all their March statements. And I'll say, nope, we need it as of the day they died in February. So we got to go back and get the February statements. So we're going to be collecting assets on all the liquid accounts. We're going to be collecting information about ownership. We're going to be collecting information about the beneficiary. And for all the beneficiaries of the estate or the trust or of particular assets, we have to collect certain information about them. We need their names, we need their addresses, we need their social security numbers. So we need a lot of information about the beneficiaries as well. Then we need some information about the person who passed away. With Minnesota, we need to know what year did they become a Minnesota resident? Did they have predeceased spouses? What county did they pass away in? So a lot of information about the person who died themselves. And then we need to know information about the person who is managing the estate. So either that's the personal representative and or the trustee. So we're going to need information about them, their name, their address, their phone number, and plug that in. And then our firm will put all this information into the return, and we'll also create a spreadsheet on who gets what in the estate. So if the estate is 3 million and it's going to 6 beneficiaries, each beneficiary gets about 500,000. It's a little bit more complicated than that because we have the total estate, we have deductions of funeral expenses. So we have various deductions and then a net. So we create this distribution spreadsheet to calculate who gets what share of the estate. And that also gets put on the estate tax return. Now, going back to valuing assets, we talked a little bit about liquid assets, but we also have to value assets that are not so liquid. So this includes real estate, that is getting an appraisal of all real estate, or using the value it's sold for if we feel the value of the sale is shortly after someone dies and is to a disinterested third party and the value of the property hasn't changed really since date of death. If we have a business, oftentimes we have to get that appraised. Or if it's just like a business that just owns real estate, we may opt to just appraise the real estate owned by the business. That's an option as well, depending upon the situation, the value, and the type of business. We have to get values for things like timeshares and values for cars. So for cars and boats, there are certain online sites that can help you come up with a valuation for cars, such as Kelley Blue Book or NADA is used for boats. So for a commonly used car that isn't like an antique car, you can find that on Kelley Blue Book. We need to answer questions like, did they have a safety deposit box? What were the contents of it? What were its locations? So all this information gathering stage, you're providing it to our firm, we're inputting it into the estate tax return. So once that is done, then we essentially get it ready to file. And that means we are essentially printing the estate tax return, which isn't that long, like less than 10 pages, 10, 20 pages. And then attached to the return is all the exhibits, all the proof of the valuations. So the government doesn't just say, "Oh yeah, you had 200,000 in your bank account." They want to see your bank statement. So we're going to be attaching all the different proofs that show why we're reporting it at this value. So it takes, depending upon the size of the return and number of assets, it can take a little while to compile the return and to create all these exhibits on the estate tax return. At that point, the client comes in and signs the estate tax return, and we mail it into the government certified return receipt. And then what happens is after we submit it, after a certain amount of time has passed, 9 months, we can write to the government and request a closing letter. And a closing letter basically says, we've looked at the return, the government has looked at the return, and they don't have any questions, looks good, we're not going to audit you. Case is closed, okay? That means we are done with the estate tax return. So oftentimes we will write the government 9 months after it has been mailed, but the government won't write back in giving us a closing letter, and we'll have to continuously contact them. The reason why we write them to request a closing letter is they won't issue one unless we specifically ask for it, and the case will hang open if we don't get that closing letter. So that's why it's important to write the government requesting for a closing letter. So estate tax timeline is a lot of work up front until you sign, and then at that point it's not a whole lot of work on our end or the client's end for a period of time, but it can take a little while after the estate tax return is filed to actually close up the estate, because it takes a while for the government to review the return. If the government instead writes back and doesn't give a closing letter, we'll let you know right away. We'll let you know what they're debating, and we decide how we want to handle that. So thank you so much for listening today. If a loved one has passed in your life and you are looking for help, we'd be honored to help. Give us a call. We have free consultations for new clients. Our number is 507-252-8997. Thank you.